Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. A little summertime there from Will Smith. Yes. Enjoying the warm weather.
Yes, the Bradford pears are blooming right outside the studio here. Pretty white.
Can you make a Bradford pear pie? Can you do that?
It probably wouldn't taste very good.
It'd be kind of...
And if it tastes anything like it smells...
it'd be kind of woody.
Bradford pears get a little stinky here in another 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Ugh. But they're coming out, and that's the good thing. It's getting warm, and that's exactly my favorite time of the year is warm. Doesn't matter when it occurs, just warm. All right. On this segment of the show, we'll kind of get back to the meat of the show here. I want to talk about this new thing that's out. This exciting and new thing that has popped up recently. It's this new way to be hip, to connect with all the young people. Hey, and it's called Libertarianism. Yeah, ain't it cool? This week at the Conservative Political Action Conference, otherwise known as CPAC, we heard a lot of politicians trying to tap into this class of people they have newly discovered within the crowd. It's more of a young crowd, too, and they all want to be hip. So, hey, the only problem is these guys aren't libertarian. They don't even believe in it. They just want the votes. Now, Rand Paul, he's about the closest politician we have, but, you know, even he has a little work to do when it comes to sticking to a strictly libertarian philosophy. Now, why is this? Why does libertarianism not draw more people to it? Now, frankly, it's because most people are not ready for the responsibilities that come with caring for yourself. They're scared of doing that. So we get people trying to take advantage of this little bit of recent publicity libertarian thought is having by claiming that they too, hey, I believe in those libertarian principles. I do too. Well, except for one or two areas. You know, that whole drug legalization thing, or pulling back our military from running all around the world, or cutting out charity by the government. You can instantly tell when a politician or anyone is just trying to benefit from this recent spotlight on libertarianism without adopting it when you hear that sort of thing. It's like saying you're a Christian, but you don't believe in that no stealing thing or that love one another command. Other than that, though, hey, I'm all in on this Christian religion thing. Now, give me your vote because you're a Christian too, right? See, the truth is there is no, quote, half libertarian, unquote, no limited libertarian, no conservative libertarian. Either you are one or you're not. When you hear politicians call themselves hyphenated anything, well, they're just trying to cover as many bases as they can. It's like our white president. He's white, you know. He said himself he's half white, half black. So you can refer to him as a white man just as easy as you can refer to him as a black man, correct? No? Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess it all depends on which side of the race card he needs to play, which more often than not is the black side. All of these people are players on the same board game, that of governmental control. It doesn't matter which game piece they pick, the black one, the white one, the conservative one, the liberal one, or even the newest piece, just recently added, the Hispanic one. They're all playing the same game, and that game is government knows best. And no matter how we roll the dice, they still advance around the board, taking more and more of our money while telling us they don't agree with doing so. Or at least that's what the conservatives say. Heck, at least the liberal people are up front and tell us they want to tax and spend us into oblivion. Speaking of which, I have a story that ran on Reason.com this week by Nick Gillespie, entitled, "The First Senate Budget in 4 Years is Not Worth the Wait." And it says, the Senate Democrats have, after 4 long years, finally released an annual budget document, and it's not worth the wait. It proposes spending $3.7 trillion in 2014, a number it grows to $5.7 trillion in 2023. It calls for almost $1 trillion in new taxes over the same period. The one interesting thing about it is something that has been completely overlooked in most news accounts. When it comes to next year's spending and taxes, it is virtually indistinguishable from the GOP's rival plan. Well, what do you know? The Republicans and the Democrats are putting forward a budget that has almost the same spending and taxes for next year. Who would have thought that? The article continues, the Senate Democrats' budget, led in this effort by Senator Patty Murray, who's Democrat out of Washington, is called Foundation for Growth, Restoring the Promise of American Opportunity. They should be ashamed of themselves if this took more than a few long nights to pull together. With the 10-eared chutzpah native to majority speakers in the world's greatest deliberative body, the document proclaims the fiscal year 2014 Senate budget builds on the work done over the last 2 years to create jobs, invest in broad-based economic growth, and tackle our deficit and debt responsibly. Here's a news flash for the Senate Democrats and the rest of Congress. If you're proposing more of whatever it is you've been up to over the past 2 years or since 2009, when you last submitted a budget, thanks, but no thanks. What the Democrats' budget proposes is to increase spending from $3.5 trillion this year to $5.7 trillion in 2013, while the Republicans propose jacking the spending up 42% in annual federal spending over the next decade and locking in tax increases pushed by President Obama. While Paul Ryan's budget zeroes out all spending on Obamacare, it keeps many of that plan's taxes. Those new levies are expected to raise about $800 billion in revenue over the next decade and include a new 3.8% tax on capital gains and dividends on households that earn more than $250,000 a year. Also a 0.9% additional Medicare taxes, also on all household income over $250,000 a year. A new 2.3% tax on medical devices, and a 10% tax on tanning salon services. So you people seeking to get a tan are going to be paying more for doing so. I guess the government doesn't like tan people. Probably one of those congressmen got turned down for a date in high school by the sexy tan cheerleader. Now he's getting his revenge. So next year, the only year the budget legally covers, by the way, spending between the Republican and the Democratic budgets are only $200 billion apart. Now, sure, that's a lot of money, but not that much when taken in the grand scheme of the whole federal budget. There is so little difference between Republicans and Democrats. And with that in mind, I'll read this other column, also from this week, is written by Brad Todd on FoxNews.com. He talked about the so-called libertarian takeover of the Republican Party. Now, I've yet to see that, but I guess maybe the recent events have some people talking. Now, his column is entitled, Conservatism Cannot Survive a Libertarian Takeover. Now, first off, no duh. If libertarians took over conservatism, then it wouldn't be called conservatism. It would be called libertarianism. Besides, the libertarians aren't trying to take over anything. They are trying to roll back the takeover of America by these big government people. Understandably, big government people find this sort of behavior threatening. But back to the column. For 3 decades, the locus of the Republican Party family debate has been over social issues. Today, there is no such fight. And that's the bad news for all of us social and foreign policy conservatives. In other words, bad news for government knows best conservatives. That's what he means when he says social and foreign policy conservatives. Social conservatives use government to whack people over the head that don't agree with their views. They don't differ that much from some religious people who do the same thing with religion. The social conservatives' religion just happens to be government. The foreign policy conservatives do the same thing with the boogeyman of terrorists. if you don't go stomping around all the other countries, trampling on the rights of humans all around the world. Now, if you aren't doing that, well, then you must be a terrorist sympathizer. Remember this quote: you are either with us or against us.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
So, you agree with everything we are doing, or you're an enemy of the government. I didn't say enemy of the American people, just an enemy of the government, since government seems to perceive the citizens of this country as an enemy anyway. Why else would it spy on you? Why else would it want to know what you're doing, where you're doing it, and how you're doing it? You don't spy on your friends. You aren't worried about what they are doing. You trust they aren't trying to harm you. But can you say the same about the American government? Can you honestly trust the government to not harm you? If you say you can, I have some American Indians who you might like to talk to. Or some Japanese who were interned during World War II. Hey, you want something more recent? Ask the Mexicans who were slaughtered with weapons our government allowed criminals to procure, all in the name of trying to get the same weapons banned in this country. Real quickly, I don't have time to get to it. We're up on the break here on the Patrick Riggins Show. Yes, we are, Tori.
Wow.
Already. That's how fast this show goes by. When we come back, we'll try to get to the last part of this, talk a little bit about Eric Holder, but I have some stuff from CPAC I want to get to first, and we'll also talk about the Defense of Marriage Act. That's coming up as well. Here on the Patrick Riggins Show, that's in the second great half hour, but quick half hour. Join us for it here in a couple of minutes.